Right. Welcome to week 8 of Talking SEC. This is Kenneth from Crunch Time Sports, live here on the Voice of College Football with Mark Rogers TV. Got a lot of great games to talk about, so let's go. All right, guys, welcome in. We're having a little streaming issue here, but hopefully we'll get that resolved here in just a moment. Okay. And there we go. All right, so welcome into week 8 of Talking SEC. This is Kenneth from Crunch Time Sports. Guys, sorry about the voice. Had a slight fracture in my jaw, so we're going to play through the pain just like some of these teams are doing this weekend. So bear with me, and I will get through the night. All right, so let's take a look at some of the earlier games from the weekend. Mississippi State 45-6 over Vanderbilt. Arkansas 45-3 over Arkansas Pine Bluff. Pretty much all you need to say about those two games. LSU hard-fought loss against Ole Miss, losing 31-17. Texas A&M is absolutely boat racing South Carolina. That game's at the half, 31-0, and the game that's known as the third Saturday in October, Alabama versus Tennessee. Alabama up 21-14 at the half. So while everybody gets in on the chat, I am going to take a look at that Ole Miss LSU game. And as we start to get some people in the chat here, I'll address this a couple of times tonight. Ole Miss is one of the hardest teams for me to analyze, for our team to analyze here at Crunch Time Sports Advantage. We know Ole Miss can run the ball. This team was the best run team in the SEC last year, and looks like they're on pace to be the best SEC team rushing again this year. 50 carries against LSU for 266 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. Matt Corral passing 18 for 23, 185 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs. Corral also had 12 carries for 24 yards and a rushing touchdown. Honestly, I have no idea what Lane Kiffin is doing as a head coach anymore. I used to understand what he wanted to do as a play caller. I have no idea anymore. This combination with him and Jeff Lebby, it's absolutely baffling to me as an analyst. You can't trust Ole Miss week to week. And this is a team that is 6-1, 3-1 in conference. And looking at how confusing this team is, I can't make heads or tails out of what this team is going to be from week to week. Hey, welcome in. Homegrown cowboy. I like that. Yeah, Lane Kiffin is completely unpredictable at this point, and this is coming from me as an analyst. I I could not trust Lane Kiffin to be the head of my football program. Welcome in, Jet. Lane Kiffin is not headed for a big payday. Who's going to hire him? I mean, I know the whispers about him going to LSU. Not going to happen. He's certainly not going back to USC. Where's he going to go to get that big payday? Because I saw a stat, and I think it's correct. Lane Kiffin has not been at a stop for more than 4 years in his entire coaching career. Oh, yeah, he could. Yeah, Jet, you're right. He could get a bump at Ole Miss, but how much of a bump is Ole Miss going to give him? I mean, we're certainly not talking about paying him what Nick Saban's making, what Jimbo Fisher's making. He's not going to make what Kirby Smart's making. And LSU, I mean, Ole Miss is having a really good season. Like I said, 6-1, 3-1 in the conference. Should be a top 10 team next week. But no, Kiffin is not going to LSU. I can go ahead and tell you that is not going to happen. That booster group is not going to hire Lane Kiffin. You got a better chance of seeing snow in Louisiana in July. Yeah, no, that's off the table, guys. The fans want to see it. I'm telling you, nah. Now, Jeff, I don't have his contract in front of me. Tell you what, let me see if I can pull it up real quick, because I love the interaction with you guys. You know that. As always, welcome in this week. Okay, so right now Lane is at 4.5 million. You want to bump him up to 5? Okay. Yeah, I don't know what that question is all about, but so you hire Lane Kiffin. Yeah, Saban is at about that number. Okay, so you hire Lane Kiffin. What's the end goal? Is it to get clicks on the tube? Additional revenue. No school in the SEC is worried about additional revenue. Let me just tell you that. There's not a school in the SEC that's worried about additional revenue. With the new SEC contract, especially the new TV deals, once they get ready to renegotiate, every SEC school is already fine. I think it's each school gets over 35 million right now. That number's only going up. Nobody's worried about TV revenue at this point. Yeah. So is the goal to win ball games, to win national championships? Or is it to, hey, we want to excite the fan base? Guys, I've never seen a fan base where the team is winning, where they're not selling out. Because when you bring in Lane Kiffin, you're bringing in everything that goes with Lane Kiffin. And not all of it is good either. Now, Ole Miss is absolutely loving Lane Kiffin right now. And rightfully so. This team is off to a fantastic start, 6-1, 3-1 in conference. Let's take a look at who Ole Miss has beat this season. Okay, so here's Ole Miss's schedule. And let me know when you get a marquee win on the schedule right now. They beat Louisville in the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic. They beat Austin Peay, I believe. Tulane. They got boat raced by Alabama. They beat Arkansas 52-51. They beat Tennessee, and they just beat an LSU team. In Lane Kiffin's career at Ole Miss, let me know where he's got a marquee win at. Because I can't find one. Jet, to answer that, yes. But what gets Alabama that is winning. Yeah, that game with Alabama just went into started the third quarter. Alabama is up 21-14. Thanks, Jeff, for putting that in there. Always appreciate you, my friend. So Lane Kiffin does not have a signature win for me. He's beat a lot of average teams or below average. And if there was a year for a team like Ole Miss to beat Alabama, this was the year. This is one of the worst offensive lines I've seen at Alabama during Nick Saban's tenure. I mean, it is god awful. The defense is inconsistent at best at Alabama this year. And what we got to see from Ole Miss is find a signature win. Because beating LSU, I'm not going to call that a signature win. Hey, Jeff, I can tell you what's going on with this Alabama defense. It's poor play at all three levels. That defensive line has been disappointing. The linebacker play has been inconsistent, and the secondary has been below average at best. And that's not good. And like I said, the offensive line is the worst I've seen during Nick Saban's tenure at Alabama. I mean, it is god awful how bad that offensive line is playing. And with a former NFL head coach as your O-line coach in Doug Marrone, a former NFL head coach as your offensive coordinator in Bill O'Brien, this is unacceptable. And Jet, I'm flipping over now because I'm going back and forth with three games. Yeah. So Tennessee right now, change of possession with a block punt. Tennessee is at the Alabama 16, 3rd and goal. And just a horrible decision there by Hooker. Okay, we got a flag on the play here. Waiting for the referees to kind of give us an update here. I mean, the calls from the referees this year have been absolutely horrible. Okay, so the flag is on Tennessee. It looks like a legal forward pass. Tennessee had a golden opportunity to get in this ball game. So it looks like we got 4th and goal. I'm sorry, 4th and 5. Tennessee blew a golden opportunity to tie this ball game up. They'll be attempting a field goal here in just a moment. Oh, Jet, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to talk about it on this show, but some questionable decision, questionable calls in that Oklahoma Kansas game. Yeah, bad. The answer is no. The answer is no. Homegrown Cowboy. The difference, as bad as the Detroit Lions are, they are still professional football players. And if you combine the Alabama offense and the Georgia defense, you still don't have an NFL team. No. I get the sentiment, but no. And if I got any Georgia fans in here, I would love for you guys to chime in. And Homegrown Cowboy, please put in the chat which team you're a fan of. Yeah. one of many bad calls in that ball game. But because and this is why I love what we do over at the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network. We hit on a lot of games today. Our analysis was spot on. And guys, if you haven't already done so, please follow us on Twitter at CrunchTimeVIP. Check out our website at www.crunchtimesportsadvantage.com. You can also find links to all of our podcasts. We are on fire this weekend, and we got a couple of more games that we're keeping a close eye on. But I think we may be in for a really good night. So let's talk about the Georgia defense, even though they were off this week, because I'm seeing a lot of media-driven narratives that are flat out wrong. Jordan Davis the defensive tackle for the Georgia Bulldogs. One of the best defensive tackles I've seen in a long time. But he is not even the best player on his own team. He's not even the best player on his own defense. The best player on that Georgia team right now. Thank you, Homegrown. We'll be talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide here throughout the night, because no point in talking about that South Carolina Texas A&M game. That game is 31-0 at the half. Nakobe Dean is the best player on that Georgia team. And I put this out on Twitter earlier today. He reminds me a lot of the late, great Hall of Fame linebacker from USC, played with the San Diego Chargers for many years, and that's Junior Seau. This guy goes from sideline to sideline like you can't believe. Oh, absolutely. Let's get it into it. Homegrown, whatever you want to ask about, whether it's Oklahoma or Texas, because they will be SEC teams here in a couple of years. Whatever your questions are, put them in the chat, my friend, and we can absolutely talk about it. Thank you, Jet. I really appreciate that. And what we like to do on our podcast is I like to give you not just the stats that you can find on whatever website that you look at. We built our own analytics, and we give you our stats. So we don't just give you, for instance, Alabama versus Tennessee, the stats that you'll find on that 4-letter network or that one of those 3-letter networks. We give you our analysis. Now, Jordan Davis is a fantastic run stopper. He is not Ndamukong Suh. Okay? No. Ndamukong Suh could not only stop the run, but he could give you 3 sacks. Jordan Davis, right now on the season, has 1.5 sacks on the season. 1.5. He's going to be a top 15 pick. He is not going to be a top 5 pick. The reason why Ndamukong Suh went 3rd in the draft year that he came out was because he was the most dominant defensive tackle that we have seen come out of college in over a generation. The reason why Quentin Williams from the University of Alabama went in the top 5 for the Jets a few years ago is because he could pressure the quarterback. Leonard Williams from USC, when he got drafted by the Giants. Leonard Williams was drafted by the Jets also because he could sack the quarterback. You don't draft a guy in the top 10 at the defensive tackle spot if he cannot put the quarterback on his backside. And I love Jordan Davis. Don't get me wrong. I think this dude is a beast, like you said, Homegrown Cowboy. He will absolutely destroy your blocking schemes. And he's going to be a great zero technique, lining right up over the center at the next level. He's going to be a 2-down player at the next level because I'm not going to get a lot of pass rush from him. But Nakobe Dean is that dude, man. I'm telling you, Nakobe Dean is that dude. If you don't have your head on a swivel, Nakobe Dean will put you to sleep. Updating that Alabama game right now, score Alabama 21, Tennessee 17. Halfway through the 3rd quarter, Jaleel Billingsley just dropped a pass that would have probably gone for a touchdown. I mean, just absolutely dropped it. But guys, Bryce Young is dealing in this ball game. And I mean straight up dealing. 23 for 33, 230 yards, one touchdown already. Bryce Young could go for 400 yards in this ball game. I mean, this dude is absolutely killing it. So, homegrown. Let's talk about Oklahoma. Let's talk about Texas. Oklahoma. Yeah, I don't know if it was alligator arms, but it looks like he saw the safety that was over the top, and I think he just took his eyes off the ball. But I won't disagree with you, my friend. Won't disagree with you. Alabama 3rd and 7. Bryce Young escapes. Big time play there. Okay, so homegrown. The SEC has been in Texas for over a decade now with Texas A&M. So that pipeline has already been open when A&M joined the conference a decade ago. Now, what it opens up a little bit more now is the Dallas Metroplex. Because that southern part of Texas, we're talking about Houston, LSU's been recruiting that for decades. When Texas A&M joined the conference, you saw Alabama, you saw LSU, you saw Auburn start to go into Louisiana. I mean, going to that southern part of Texas, that southeast part of Texas. I think now with Texas coming in, the Dallas Metroplex is open, and you want to talk about some high level recruits. The Metroplex of Dallas absolutely has it in spades, ladies and gentlemen. Absolute spades. So you're going to start to see more schools go into Texas. I think that's more to your question there, homegrown. More teams will start to go into Texas. Now, Arkansas has been recruiting Texas since their days back in the old Southwest Conference. So that's nothing new. That's why they played a game against A&M in Dallas every year, just for recruiting. It's the same reason that Georgia plays Florida in Jacksonville. It's all about the recruiting. And here's this offensive line getting absolutely smoked again. Nick Saban, you guys better start going to some max protection with Bryce Young before you get this guy hurt, because your championship hopes lies in Bryce Young staying healthy. 45-yard kick there by Will Riker. It is good. New score in the ball game: Alabama 24, Tennessee 17. Now, as far as Oklahoma, can't really think of any added benefit as far as recruiting goes that brings in any areas that the SEC is not already recruiting, because Oklahoma's biggest recruiting ground is in that Dallas Metroplex area. That's why they play that game against Texas in Dallas. That's not by coincidence. So, great question there, homegrown. Um, Alabama. Let's pull up their let's pull up the stats for that game since we are at a commercial break real quick. Okay, so Alabama has 358 total yards, Tennessee 196. Alabama's done a great job of shutting down the Tennessee run game. Um, 21 yards on 14 carries. Tennessee's been running the ball fantastic up until this point. So great job by the Alabama defense as far as shutting down the run game. As far as the pass game, besides that blown touchdown, blown coverage on that touchdown, not bad on the defensive side of the ball. 12 for 18, 175 yards. Um, with the way that Tennessee plays, that's not bad. Now, here's what's killing Tennessee in this ball game: 10 penalties for 80 yards so far. Alabama's doing a great job of getting off the field on third down. Tennessee's only 2 for 8 on third down, while Alabama's 9 for 14. So, not a bad job there by Alabama in this contest. Honestly, here's what I would like Bill O'Brien to do instead of, and that's not a bad idea, homegrown. What I would like Bill O'Brien to do is go to some six-man protection. Um, and it doesn't have to be a tight end. You can go with 6 offensive linemen and protect Bryce Young that way. Um, talking to some people in and around that program, Bill O'Brien is putting a lot of pressure on himself to keep up the numbers that Alabama had under Lane Kiffin and last year under Steve Sarkisian. The difference is Alabama does not have that O-line like they did last year. And when you don't have a dominant offensive line, you can't go with 4 wide receivers or 5 wide receivers as much as you do. You got to make sure that you protect your quarterback. And the past couple of years, Alabama's strength was not the wide receivers. It wasn't the quarterback. It was the O-line. Now, this Alabama defense now is starting to bow their necks up a little bit. Will Anderson is growing up in front of your eyes right now. I mean, he is growing up in front of your eyes on this Alabama defense. That's the kind of leadership you want. I mean, Hendon Hooker just would not go down right there. I mean, he just dragged a couple of Alabama guys for a first down. We got about a little bit under 6 minutes left to go in the third quarter here. Tennessee is up to their 38-yard line right now. So curious to see if Tennessee is able to put some points on the board in this drive right here. Sorry, guys. This is the beauty of what we do when we're doing this live. You get a couple of updates here from some people covering the team here. Hmm. Okay, that's interesting. All right, that's something I'll have to follow back up on later tonight. Jet, uh, I really don't know how to address that because it's not a lack of hunger. It's not a lack of sense of urgency. This team is just not as good as they've been over the past 3 years. I mean, I just addressed some of it. The offensive line is not that good. The D line has been a complete disappointment, and the secondary has been a huge disappointment. So, okay, so Tennessee's punting the ball back to Alabama now. Alabama looks like they're going to have the ball on their 20-yard line. So, I don't think it's a lack of sense of urgency. This team just not it's not as talented as we thought they were going to be coming into the season. And this is a team that sits with a really good record, only one loss on the season. They're 6-1, 3-1 in conference play. As long as they win out, they will go to the SEC title game. Is this team good enough to win a national title? Who knows right now? We're 6 weeks away from the SEC championship game, and there's still a lot of questions about this Alabama team right now. Can they improve week by week? Absolutely. Are there some things that Coach Saban needs to do inside that locker room? Absolutely. But I don't think it has anything to do with the lack of hunger or sense of urgency. It's just this team is not playing to the expectations that we had for them coming into the season. 3rd down and 2, Alabama on its own 28-yard line. Big play in this game right here for Alabama. False start on Alabama. 3rd and 7 now. And this is a very young Alabama team. No question about that, Cowboy. Extremely young. And the scary part is they're only going to get better. I mean, Bryce Young is only going to get better, and he's already really good. The offensive line will get better when some of those talented freshmen get on the field. Big time conversion there by Bryce Young. I'm telling you, Bryce Young has that calm, cool Tua kind of personality where he just doesn't get rattled at all. I like this quarterback. I'm telling you, man. Alabama fans, you got one with Bryce Young. Let me tell you. You got one. This kid is grade A special. If he continues to develop, he gonna make a lot of money on Sundays. Lot of money. Oh my goodness. If you're not watching this game right now, Bryce Young just gave you what Russell Wilson gives you with the Seattle Seahawks. Buys about, let's count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's in the pocket for about 6 seconds and just throws a bullet for a first down. Alabama already across midfield inside the Tennessee 30-yard line. Alabama is looking to put this ball game away right here. I think if Alabama gets a touchdown here, um, another Tennessee player down injured. You talk about a team that could not afford any more injuries, and this is it, guys. Wow. Oh God, yeah. So, homegrown, light years better. That Oklahoma defense, whew, that Oklahoma defense, man, look, let me tell you, not good. Not good. Um, Oklahoma was lucky, and I do mean lucky, to beat Kansas today. Notice I didn't say to beat Texas. Mm, that's not good. No, I didn't think they were going to be that good because we've been hearing this for the past couple of years that this Oklahoma defense would be better, and they're not. They just are not. Yeah, Alabama's looking to put the hammer in here. Mm, I was big there. Okay, so John Mechie, I think, is getting close to 100 yards in this ball game. I think that catch may have just put him over 100. Um, Bryce Young is Dylan. I'm telling you, he's approaching 300 yards in the third quarter here, and we're probably going to get one more play before the end of the third quarter here. Alabama up 24-7. Alabama's got the ball inside the Tennessee 10-yard line, 2nd and 7 at the 9-yard line. Alabama's looking to put the baby to bed right here. Looks like false start on Alabama. Yep. And Nick Saban knew they had a touchdown on that play. I mean, it was perfectly dialed up. If Alabama gets any points on this drive, it may be lights out. Guys, we go to the fourth quarter. Alabama still inside the red zone, up 24-14. Recapping some of the earlier action. Mississippi State, absolutely another Tennessee player down. Hopefully that's just cramps. It is kind of warm still in Alabama tonight, so guys are starting to cramp up for Tennessee. Mississippi State beat Vandy 45-6. Okay, sure. Will Rogers in that ball game, quarterback for Mississippi State, 41 for 57, 384, and 4 touchdowns in that ball game. Arkansas beat Arkansas Pine Bluff. I'm not even going through the stats in that ball game. Yeah. Ole Miss versus LSU this afternoon. Ole Miss won 31-17 in a game that can just only be described as what in the world was that? Matt Corral, 18 for 23, 185 yards, one passing touchdown, did have a rushing touchdown as well. Snoop Connor, 14 carries, 117 yards in that ball game. If you guys want me to talk Heisman, I can definitely do so. Yeah, Jet, the new overtime rule. So that was put in to avoid a number of plays that these kids were playing in college. I'm not a fan of the format, but I get it. I wish they would just go to the NFL format, and instead of this ball being on the 30-yard line or 25-yard line, uh, go ahead and do the NFL rules. Kick the ball off. If the team that receives the ball scores a touchdown, um, the opposing team has to score a touchdown or game over, and then next score drive. I mean, the next team that scores win. Um, that's what I would like to see. Um, Homegrown. There's some. Let's just say you won't be seeing a lot of Ajay Hall for the time being. I know he had the spring A-Day game. Um, honestly, what he did in the A-Day game, whatever. Um, he's got to get some things cleaned up in practice before he sees the field like that. I wish I could go into it in more detail, but I can't. So I'll say that there's some things from the coaching staff that they want to see before putting him on the field. Okay, so we're in the start of the fourth quarter. Alabama 3rd and 4 at the 6-yard line here. Bryce Young scrambles. Bryce Young scores. To quote Eli Gold, touchdown, Alabama. Guys, this game's over now. Alabama's up 13 point after pending as they umpile here at the goal line. Oh, whoa. Did Bryce Young fumble that ball going in? Yeah, he did. But it looks like he recovered it. So that should still be an Alabama touchdown. But the way the referee has been going today, let me not speak too soon. So he definitely fumbled. But it looks like he recovered. And Nick is telling him, do not stretch the ball out like that. And right now, Bryce Young is lucky he's not AJ McCarron from a few years ago. If you guys remember that exchange when Nick Saban basically ripped AJ McCarron a new one. Okay, we still don't have a ruling here from the referee, so I can't tell you if it's a touchdown or what's going on. But it looks like Bryce recovered it, so it should be a touchdown. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he clearly fumbled and looks like he fell on top of it. Hey, Jeff, I remember that, and it's hard to believe that that's almost been almost a decade ago. But Nick Saban, guys, if you need to see something funny, okay, Alabama touchdown because they say Bryce Young did recover it. So after about 8.5 minutes of waiting on that, Bryce Young just got a touchdown. Congratulations. But yeah, so whatever AJ McCarron did on that play, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but Nick Saban wound up slapping AJ McCarron on his backside a couple of times and just said, calm down. Hey, Jet, thank you for cleaning that up on the chat. And but yeah, it was calm down. Yeah. So Bryce Young did fumble, but he did recover it. So I don't see why that took so long. And I don't see what Josh Heupel is complaining about. Now, Tennessee fans are going to love that, but that outburst absolutely makes no sense to me whatsoever. Josh Heupel, your team is down 14 points now. Can you put another touchdown on the board to get this game back close? Point after good for Alabama. Very significant in some circles there. New score in the ball game: Alabama 31, Tennessee 17. So, homegrown, let me ask you: is there a cigar waiting? Since that's the tradition for this ball game. Nick Saban has never lost to Tennessee as the head coach of Alabama. Looking to go 15-0. That is just crazy when you think about it. Nick Saban has beaten Tennessee 15. What if this score holds 15 straight times? That's impressive. I want to look up a stat for that ball game. I mean, for the history of this ball game. Because what I want to know is that the longest in this rivalry? Yes, it is. Okay, so this rivalry dates back over 100 years. Alabama leads all-time series 58-37 with 8 ties. Longest win streak is Alabama's current streak dating back to 2007, where Alabama has won 14 straight times. Man, that is, wow. That is getting it done. And against one of your biggest rivals, absolutely. And here's the most impressive part. From 1995. Oh, look at that. Hendon Hooker just goes up top to the house to Cedric Tillman, 70-yard touchdown, blown coverage there by Alabama. I mean, just blown coverage. Give me that replay because I missed it. Josh Jobe wasn't paying attention, and Tillman just blew right past him. Wow. Tennessee, with this point after now, cuts that Alabama lead in half. New score. Alabama 31, Tennessee 23. In case you're wondering about the Texas A&M South Carolina game, Texas A&M 40, South Carolina nothing. A&M is trying to work themselves into the top 15 tonight. And let's take a look at the top 20 to see where Texas A&M could find themselves here. Bear with me as we look at, and I always like working off the AP poll. So coming in on a bye, Georgia, number 4, Alabama as far as SEC teams. Trying to see. Penn State will fall after their loss. Homegirl, I'll get to that in just a second, but yes, sir, you're absolutely right. Ole Miss could find themselves in the top 10. Kentucky sitting there at 15. They will move up with the Coastal Carolina loss. So will Texas A&M. Auburn might move up as well. So you could potentially have, in the top 15, you could have 4 SEC teams with no problems. So, homegrown, to answer, to confirm that, yes, every player for Nick Saban that has played at least 4 years under Coach Saban has at least one national championship. Unprecedented in college football history. No other coach can say that. Where you can walk into a recruit's living room and say, if you play for me 4 years, you will win at least one national championship. Unheard of. That was a big touchdown by Tennessee for just to get that ball game close. All right, so as we get to the top of the hour, and Jed, I'll come back and get that question for you. Let me reset real quick. We are at the 9 o'clock hour. I have the pleasure of being with you for the next 58 minutes. Let's do a quick reset, and I will be right back, Jed, to answer your question. All right, welcome back into Talking SEC. This is week 8 of the college football season. I am Kenneth from the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network. On behalf of my team at the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network, it is my pleasure and privilege to be with you guys each and every weekend. Thanks for everybody that's been in the chat so far in the first hour. Homegrown Cowboy, Jet, as always, thank you for joining in. And really fun discussion about some of the games and things that we've seen in tonight's action. Jet, you got a great question there. Meanwhile, if you're a top player, Dan Mullen will put you on the top shelf at least for a year. Hard to understand why Saban recruits. Because Saban has a history of playing freshmen. If you're good enough to get on the field, Nick Saban will put you on the field, regardless of position. If you're good enough to play, you're going to get playing time for Nick Saban. Nick has had a long history at Alabama where true freshmen have absolutely seen major playing time. Dan Mullen, on the other hand, Dan Mullen can't get top recruits. If you think about it, he's supposed to be an offensive genius. But yeah, thanks, Jeff. I get that. But there were a couple of people. Homegrown. Let me pop that up. Kool-Aid's playing, but there's some things that now understand. The defensive backs, especially the cornerbacks for Nick Saban. That's his baby. I mean, that's his position that he puts his fingers on. So I think as Kool-Aid starts to get better, wow, I did not know that. That's interesting. But to finish that thought, because I know some people are going to see the replay of this later on, and you think about it. Kyle Pitts did not come in as a top 25 recruit. Kadarius Toney, I don't remember him being like this 5-star recruit that everybody was after. So Dan Mullen is not an elite recruiter. He would tell you that. Now, Dan Mullen can absolutely scheme some stuff up, no question about it. But then he have some absolute brain cramps. 2 years against LSU, where LSU did not have the better team on the field. Dan Mullen has lost to LSU twice. Dan Mullen has lost to Kentucky twice. I would not trust Dan Mullen to be my head coach. I'll just be point blank with that. I would be disappointed if Dan Mullen was my head coach. Florida is going to get boat raced next week. I mean, absolute boat raced. Alabama just put up another touchdown. I'm waiting to get the because I didn't see what happened on that play. So bear with me. Okay, Brian Robertson for 15 yards pushes that Alabama lead back out to 38-14. So Alabama trying to get a little more breathing room in this ball game. But you guys tell me, everybody that's in the chat right now, do you give Florida any chance next week against that Georgia defense? Whew. We're right now debating, my team and I, if we're even going to break down that game. Honestly, because the SEC East has already been decided. So, I mean, Georgia would have to lose basically twice in the conference to not go to the SEC championship game. I'm with you, Jet. I can't come up with a game script to where Florida wins that ball game after what I've seen over the past three or 4 weeks against with this team. I can't do it. I'm just checking a couple of other scores out real quick. So, okay. So, but back to that thought. Like I said, that's going to be a game. I'm not even sure if we're going to break that game down because of what we've seen from the University of Florida. And wow. Okay, Tennessee gets the ball back. Let's see if Alabama can close this game out. We got about 13 minutes left to go in the ball game. Jameson Williams. You want to talk about a guy that is making himself a lot of money. This dude is going to be well compensated at the next level. 6 receptions, 123 yards tonight. Bryce Young has got to be getting close. Yeah, Bryce Young is already at 350 yards, guys. Will Anderson with the sack. Nope. Was that Will Anderson? Yeah, it was. There's a reason why you call this kid the Terminator. I mean, that guy looks good. All right, big drive here by Tennessee here. They're working their way up to their 40-yard line. Like I said, they're just trying to keep this game close here. All right, so Tennessee first down. They just got the ball to midfield. Heaton Hooker with the scramble picks up about 5 yards. No, Jeff, Alabama does not need to worry about putting up 40 points in this ball game. I'm sorry, homegrown. No, Alabama does not need to put up 40 points to stay in the top 4. Alabama just needs to win. That's all Alabama has to do at this point. Style points absolutely mean nothing to Alabama as far as staying in the top 4. Because if Alabama wins the rest of their games, whether it's by 1 point or 40 points, if they lose the SEC title game, Alabama is not going to the college football playoffs. It's that simple. Alabama has to win out, including the SEC title game, if they want to get into the playoffs. Pick 6 by Alabama. And I'm calling it. Oh, he didn't get all the way. Should have been a pick 6 if he cuts it back. Alabama with the INT right there on just a terrible throw by Hooker. I mean, just terrible throw. I mean, I don't know what in the world he was thinking, but that should have been a pick 6 if I can't tell who caught the INT there. Okay, so Alabama, change of possession. Alabama inside the red zone at the Tennessee 19. Bryce Young's taking way too many hits in this ball game now. Way too many hits. That's going to be a problem if you get to the SEC championship game. Oh, great stat there. Alabama has forced at least 1 turnover in 86 of their last 93 ball games. That is a fantastic stat. Credit to them for putting that stat up there. Just a dumb penalty there by Tennessee. Ball was overthrown, and number 22 for Tennessee just cheap shots the wide receiver. I'm sorry, but you can't do stupid stuff like that. I mean, just bonehead decision. Okay. Alabama now first and goal, and Brian Robinson gets down to the 1 yard line. No, Nick Saban does not want him running more. No, that I can tell you. Nick Saban does not want that. What Nick Saban does want Bryce to do, Jet, and you're right on this part. Brian Robinson just stuffed at the 1 yard line. What Nick Saban wants Bryce Young to do is to no. Here and Cowboy, I'm gonna address that. The reason why Nick Saban doesn't want Bryce Young running is because Nick Saban has not forgotten when he was up against Mississippi State in the first half, allowed Tua to go back into that game, and Tua got hurt. Nick Saban was the sickest man in America. So Brian Robinson just walks in for another Alabama touchdown. Alabama rolling over Tennessee once again. Yeah, big time touchdown there. But no, Nick Saban doesn't want Bryce Young running. But what he does want, if Bryce Young is going to run, to get down. Do not take any more hits than absolute necessary. So Bryce has got to protect himself a little bit better. Now, the offensive line has got to help Bryce, but that I was trying to see if there was a penalty there, but looks like there wasn't. Okay. So Alabama new score, Alabama 44 point after pending. PAT good new score, Alabama 45. Tennessee 17. I'm sorry, Tennessee 24. Now, Jet, this Tennessee defense is not good. Okay. But yeah, red zone production, absolutely been really good here for Alabama. No question about it. I mean, if you're going on air, 6 for 6 touchdowns in the red zone, that's good production there. But no, this Tennessee defense is not good, and especially because of all the injuries and transfers that they had. So Alabama up comfortably in this ball game now. Should be able to get out of here with a win. Okay, having a little trouble getting that to pull up here. So, okay, there we go. But no, Alabama needs to continue to get better on offense from an O-line standpoint, and I think they'll be fine. But we truly won't know until they face. Until they face a really good defense. So it's very critical that Alabama continues to improve on the offensive line. And I say it every week. Every week that Chris Owen plays right tackle is a bad week, a bad Saturday for Alabama O-line to get better. I honestly would go ahead and put J.C. Latham in and get him ready. But because if Alabama is going to upset Georgia, they're going to need a dominant offensive line. Not a good one. They're going to need a dominant offensive line. And right now, this Alabama O-line is not dominant. Heck, it's barely even good for me. So Alabama has to get better on the O-line. And the defense is going to have to play a lot better. So Alabama's got a lot of work to do between now and assuming that they get to the SEC championship game. Oh, goodness grief. Homegrown, I would tell you, I honestly, I'll put it up here. I follow recruiting, but I could care less about Arch Manning. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of fantastic people that cover recruiting. I'm not one of them. Arch Manning won't be on my radar until he is enrolled in college and playing quarterback. Until then, I could care less about Arch Manning, Peyton Manning, Archie Manning. Doesn't matter to me. I mean, I just don't. I could honestly care less. I'll be honest with you. I honestly can tell you if his last name wasn't Manning, would people really be talking about him as much as they do? I don't think so. So out the gate with that. Alabama just forced a 3-and-out versus Tennessee. So good job there by the Alabama defense. But yeah, sorry, homegrown. To answer your question, I follow recruiting 0.0%. What we do at our network, we don't even talk recruiting. Like I said, there are plenty avenues that cover that. We didn't want to be one of them because what these kids project to be is a guess. There's a network that I won't mention, but they claim to have a lot of insight on recruiting. To me, I think some of their stuff has been god awful. Hey, John, how's it going tonight? Homegrown. If we get to that game, I promise you we will break that down on our network over at Crunch Time. But right now, both of these teams, Alabama and Georgia, have a lot to prove before they get to that ball game. So Georgia, by no means, is a finished product, and despite what you may hear in the media, yes, Georgia is favored to win the SEC, but John, LSU fan, right? So, you know what, John? Well, I got you. Let's pull that up. But no, Georgia has a lot to prove. I'm still not sold on this Georgia secondary. Georgia's able to Georgia still has to prove that they can beat a team that's not one dimensional. Up until this point, they haven't played a team that um, is a two-dimensional offense yet. Quite honestly, Georgia hasn't beaten anybody that I thought would challenge them so far. Clemson has been a mess. I mean, despite the season that Kentucky's had, I never thought that Kentucky was going to win that ball game against Georgia. So the question for me is, who has Georgia beaten so far this season? Nobody. And it's no fault of their own. They thought that Clemson would be a really good team. Clemson has been an absolute mess, losing again today. So that win against Clemson does not look nearly as good as we thought it was. They beat Vanderbilt by 100 points. I mean, heck, who doesn't? How did Alabama get all the way back in the red zone already? What did I miss? Sorry, guys. I feel like I fell asleep at the wheel here. Oh, Tennessee turned it over on downs. That's why. Oh, Josh Heupel, bless your stupid heart. I was like, how is Alabama back in the red zone? But there we go. Alabama looking to run out the clock here, and Alabama's okay with getting a field goal and putting this game away. Yeah, John, you're right. That injury number for Tennessee is definitely starting to catch up with them, and you had to know that at some point during the season it was going to. As there is a cloud of smoke in Bryant Denny Stadium right now, as all the cigars are getting lit. Yeah, fans are just pulling out the cigars, and it is definitely a roll tide night in Tuscaloosa. Alabama 39 at the Tennessee 19. And honestly, well, there you go. John Mechie walks it in. Guys, put this baby to bed. Alabama rolling over Tennessee. Nick Saban will go to 15-0. Okay, John, you got to tell me about this post game for you got to tell me what happened there. Just put it in the chat. I don't think I'll put it up, but I know some guys that cover LSU, and there are a couple of them that's really good, and there are more than a few that are, I'm just gonna say it, god awful. So, hey John, since we pretty much got all the action covered tonight, I got a question for you, and I would love your thoughts on it. As a fan of LSU, oh, there we go. Got you. Um, who do you think should be the next head coach of LSU? As a fan, who would you want to see as the next head coach? We talked about it last week on here, and it's it's a difficult job. Mm, no question about it. It's a difficult job being the head coach. Wow, really? Okay, so you got to tell me what makes Lane Kiffin a choice that you would be on board with. Because Lane Kiffin doesn't have a signature win at Ole Miss. So if the expectation is winning a championship, Lane Kiffin's not going to get you there. Because at some point he's going to have to be in the same season. Know what LSU? Okay, let's talk about that. You want to read you want to bring back the Joe Burrow, Joe Brady season from 19, right? That's a one in a lifetime. That's a one in a lifetime thing. No, Ohio State won't be in the top four because beating Indiana ain't that impressive. So offense is not the problem for LSU. That defense for LSU has not been impressive at all. So you're right, John. Like I said, that 2019, because that's what I hear from a lot of LSU fans. That's why I asked that. Um, it's oh, we want that offense back. Well, you ain't got that offensive talent. Um, Jordan Jefferson. Um, yeah, and a lot of coordinators that LSU wanted to hire knew that Ed Orgeron was going to be fired. That was well known before the season started. So the fact that you couldn't get a top defensive coordinator, um, that speaks more to Ed Orgeron's status as the head coach. Nobody wanted to take that job. I can tell you. Um, looking at this game against Ole Miss, you gave up 14 points in the third quarter, nothing in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, you talk about a guy that's working with, man, a skeleton crew. Your top two cornerbacks are out. Injuries all along that defensive line. It's hard to make chicken salad out of you know what. I mean, it's hard to make chicken salad out of chicken squat. I mean, I just didn't think that this LSU team was going to be more than a 7 or 8 win team. Oh no, the money had nothing to do with it. Those coordinators knew that Ed was going to get fired, just how bad last year went. And you got the best that you could get. Nobody was taking that job as a top defensive coordinator. Florida is in the same position. No, there is no amount of money that Dan Mullen could have offered anybody to replace Todd Grantham with, because they heard the whispers, like I did, that Dan Mullen was trying to get an NFL head coaching job. So when your head coach is on the hot seat, it's hard to get top candidates. Um, and to speak to your point, that's because everybody knew that Ed Orgeron was on the way out this year. You couldn't get a top level coordinator to come into LSU. Sorry, guys. I just got an update on the game there, but absolutely. So, no, nobody wanted the job. I mean, I know that's going to sound harsh for some LSU fans that are watching this or will watch it later, but nobody wanted to come to LSU this year. Peets and Jones were the best that LSU could absolutely get. Well, he couldn't fire him last year because it was a year after the national championship. Think about this. Gus Malzahn at Auburn, who had not won a national title in over 60 years, fired Gus Malzahn 2 years after the national championship. Matter of fact, he was fired basically about the same time that Ed was fired this year. So now, I think the mistake that Scott Woodward made this year, if you're going to fire the guy, go ahead and fire the guy and let somebody else coach the rest of the season. You do not give Ed the opportunity to win some games going down the stretch and make that decision. Freeman is at Notre Dame, and believe me, whatever LSU would have offered Freeman leaving Cincinnati, Notre Dame was going to go over that. So if LSU would have offered Freeman $5 million, Notre Dame was going to pay 5.5. And that Notre Dame defense, It's better than what LSU has, and not with the same talent that LSU has. So you did not dodge a bullet with that. You would be darn lucky if Marcus Freeman was your defensive coordinator right now. Yeah. That's a phrase that we call sour grapes there. A lot of LSU fans that say that, they say that every year in recruiting when a guy doesn't go to LSU. Well, we were lucky we didn't get him. Okay. Sure. And I will say this once again this week. LSU is a top 10 job. It's not the best job that's open right now. I'm telling you, if I was a high profile coach, I will take the USC job over the LSU job every day of the week and twice on Saturdays. I would not touch this LSU job right now. It is radioactive. Because LSU has still got a lot of issues going on that they have to get cleaned up. I mean, this program is in a mess. And John, I'm not disagreeing with you about the defense that Jones is running, but look what he's got to work with. I mean, at some point, there's just not a lot of talent on this defense right now. And a lot of that is due to injury. But no, this LSU team is just not talented. On the defensive side, as far as having the kind of veterans that you need. Okay, Jet, let me read that because I need to think about that. Yeah, okay, and like I said, John, when I say the talent's not there because the talent is injured right now. That's what I mean when I say the talent's not there. On the defensive side, the talent's not there. You're missing Ricks and Stingley at the cornerback position. You just don't go out and just replace that overnight. So that's what I mean by that. As far as no, USC needs to be all in. And what I'll say about Southern Cal versus LSU. When LSU is right, I'm talking about the coach is right, the coordinators are right. LSU wins a lot of games, and they will win a national championship. When USC is right, USC dominates college football. Uh, look, you can look. I'll put that up. You can talk about battle tested. Let me tell you, when nobody talking about the SEC when USC had Pete Carroll running through college football. So no, USC when they're right, they dominate college football. There is no point in LSU's history where they've dominated college football. 2019 was a historical season, no question about it. LSU does not dominate college football, and that talent in Los Angeles is every bit as good as what's in the state of Louisiana. So the right coach at USC, they win national championships. And I don't just mean one. They win a couple. Uh I'm not gonna say that no, because you know what? Here's a dirty secret about college football. Ain't no program clean. Okay. There is not a clean college football program. So whatever cheating was, they still won the game on the field. So they weren't doing anything that no other school was doing. So I won't back off of that one bit. SC, when they are right, they dominate college football. You go back and look. History tells you that. You mean to tell me that there's no question about it that oh, if you don't think there wasn't any agents in that LSU locker room in 2019, I can tell you. Agents have been in every locker room. That has nothing to do with the product on the field. It has nothing to do with the product on the field. And I'm telling you that LSU is a top 10 program, but they're not SC. If I am, okay, I'm a spitball a name here. If I'm James Franklin at Penn State and I got two phones, and on one phone is LSU and the other one is USC, I am picking up the phone to USC right now. Why are you taking the LSU job? Mm, we'll see about that. Homegrown, we'll see about that. Um, I think that program wants to get back on top of college football, and I think they know that they have the talent to do so in Southern California and Hawaii. That is not true. No. Um, James Franklin, his family's from Pennsylvania. That's why he took that job at Penn State. Um, him having a condo in that's a few hours away from LSU. I mean, okay, we'll see. We'll see. But James Franklin left the SEC for a reason, and it's because Franklin is not a A-list recruiter, and you're going to put him up against Nick Saban, Kirby Smart. Good luck. I'm gonna say this because there are going to be some schools that are going to be disappointed in the coaches that absolutely turn them down. Oh, they don't, John. I'm okay with us not agreeing on that. LSU don't stand a snowball's chance of getting James Franklin until I hear otherwise from a couple of sources that I know. Nah. Yeah, and if you're at USC, much better chance of doing that. Much better chance of doing that because you want to face Nick Saban or Kirby in the playoffs and not in conference play. That's why I think Texas is really going to struggle because Texas cannot win the Big 12. How is Texas going to win the SEC? I think Texas fans are going to be in for a real shock. You can't win the Big 12. Oklahoma has dominated the Big 12 for the past decade and a half. Okay, John, let's talk about this battle-tested theory. Okay. Was Ohio State battle-tested years ago when they got to the the semifinals and boat raced Alabama? If you're good, you're just good. I mean, this whole teams have to be battle tested. Has Georgia been battle tested this year? Georgia has not been battle tested this year. Georgia has not beat one single team that is a top 10 team. So Georgia hasn't been battle tested. Georgia's best win will be that Kentucky win. You think about that. John, tell me one team on and like I said, I love the conversation, guys. Tell me one team that Georgia you will say has battle tested Georgia before the end of the season. Because I can pull up Georgia's schedule, and I can tell you the word battle tested does not come to mind. Okay, so here's Georgia's schedule. Beat Clemson in the opener. We know how bad that Clemson team is. I said regular season. Said regular season. They beat UAB. I mean, okay. South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Auburn, Kentucky. They play Florida, Missouri, Tennessee, Charleston Southern, and Georgia Tech. There ain't a team that's battle tested on that resume. Their best win, like I said, will be versus Kentucky. And Kentucky's offense is anemic. If Kentucky can't run the ball, Kentucky can't win. So I like the talking points of teams being battle tested, but Georgia hasn't been battle tested. I mean, if they played Clemson today, they would beat Clemson by 35 points. Oh no, the SEC West is really good, but look at who they drew out of the West. They drew Auburn and Arkansas. How do you get better when you're playing Kentucky, Florida, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Missouri? I'm sorry, guys. I can't buy that. What makes you battle tested is when you have to beat high caliber teams. And just because a team has the SEC logo on its chest plate, no. Beating Vanderbilt by 62 points, beating a South Carolina team that is one of the worst teams I've ever seen, and that's not named Vanderbilt, that ain't making you battle tested. Hell, you could play North Carolina and Purdue and get the same result. There's not a high caliber team that Georgia's beat. And I'm not saying that Georgia can't win the national championship. My thought on that is Georgia has still a lot to prove to win a national title. And guys, I got you for a couple of more minutes, so I'm going to run through these games real quick. Hey, thank you for everybody that tuned in tonight and that will watch the replay of this. Mississippi State beats Vandy 45-6. Arkansas beats Arkansas Pine Bluff 45-3. Nothing to really talk about. Ole Miss is able to get a win versus LSU. JR, you're right. All you can do is play the teams that are on your schedule. Texas A&M blows out South Carolina 44-14. Calzada, solid game. No, John, that is not the case. I just disagree with your point. That's all. Not whatsoever. I respect everybody's opinion. I just disagree with yours. I don't think that Georgia's played a single team that's worthwhile mentioning. What was my point? But no, that is not this kind of show. No, I love the interaction. Georgia. Oh, I'm sorry, John. but no. I just don't think that Georgia's proven anything other than what we thought about coming into the season. I thought that they had a top defensive front. The secondary still has questions, and we won't know about this Georgia secondary until the SEC title game, and that's assuming Alabama gets there. Speaking of Alabama, and as we say goodnight, Alabama rose over Tennessee 52-24. A lot of cigar smokes fired up in Bryant-Denny Stadium as Alabama goes to 15-0 under Nick Saban against the University of Tennessee. Roll Tide in that one. Guys, thank you for watching the Talking SEC show. John, hopefully you'll join us next week. Jet, always glad to have you and my friend. JR, you got in late. Everybody else that's going to watch this on the replay, thank you for watching. On behalf of my team at the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network and Mark Rogers TV, have a great night and enjoy the rest of your weekend as we get ready for week 9 of college football. Take care, everybody.